Welcome to The E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to The E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, "We take care of our own," as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 96 of The E-Show. On this week's episode, we kick things off with an interview featuring Keith Aucoin, one of the newest inductees into the AHL Hall of Fame. In the weekly rundown, the E-Crew debates over what changes can and cannot be made to the EHL and EHLP power rankings. Further along in the Fantasy Challenge, I discussed the first hat trick earned this season, and we paused for an interview with Sean Walsh from Southern New Hampshire University. Finally, we wrap things up by highlighting a handful of games to watch at this week's showcase. I'm joined now by Keith Aucoin, the assistant coach for the Railers Junior Hockey Club. How's it going, Keith?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, and thanks for coming on. An exciting time for you. Recently named to the AHL Hall of Fame. Where were you when you found out the news?
I was actually on a golf course playing in a golf tournament. Just where I love to be. So had to stop playing for like 5 to 10 minutes just for the phone call, but it was a great phone call to have, and I didn't really expect it, to be honest. But it's pretty cool.
I was going to ask that question next. Did you expect it, or when you took a step back, were you kind of not surprised?
I mean, everybody was telling me that, you'd be a Hall of Fame eventually just because of my stats. But I didn't think it would be this quick after me retiring from hockey. I thought it would take a little bit more time. So it was a little bit caught off guard by the phone call originally. But like I said, it's one of those calls. I'll never forget that call. I mean, when you get inducted to a Hall of Fame, whatever league it is, doesn't matter. You've done something right. So it's really cool to get that phone call.
And what's the first phone call you made afterwards?
I called my wife right away, let her know. And then I called my parents, let them know. I'm not big into personal accomplishments, so I didn't really tell many people. I told the close people, anybody. I didn't tell anybody with the Railers or the Rangers or anybody really. So, but I made sure I told my close people that so they didn't find out online or whenever it came out public.
Yeah, but then word started to spread, and you got the cake at the end of practice there with the Railers. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, they got me good. I saw a cake, and I'm like, all right, the cake's in front of me. There's no way, So I thought I got them. I caught them with what they were trying to do, and they played it well. They had 2 cakes, so they got me pretty good with that one. It tasted good. Not with the calories that I need at this point, but they played that pretty cool, and they got a great group of kids there that work hard every day, and they're a very close group. So it's good to be a part of that, and for them to do what they did, and kind of make kind of a special day for me was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then getting to know you over the past few years, you obviously one of the biggest things that stands out for me is just how much you love the players, and I think what's unique is you kind of followed the same path that they're trying to go on. And your path led to Division III at Norwich. Was Norwich always a school that you had thought of?
No, not really. I mean, originally I wanted to play Division I, just like everybody else, So, that was kind of my mindset. And then, towards my senior year in high school, I really wasn't getting any looks at Division I. So, and I had to kind of turn the page. And my high school coach went to Norwich and had a little bit of a relationship with the Norwich coach. So he gave them a call, and they came and watched me. And the first game they came to, I probably had the worst game I played in 4 years of high school hockey. So, they had to come back again and watch again. And then I had a really good game, and they really liked me. So that's kind of how that all started. But, once I read about Norwich and they were getting a brand new rink, and they were one of those programs that was kind of up and, kind of growing. And the rink that they were building was, going to be a state of the art, Division I rink. So, it was kind of no-brainer for me to go there and develop, and it worked out for the best.
Did you ever envision having the career that you had at Norwich?
I did not. I really didn't. You don't really know what to expect. I played high school hockey, and then you go into college, and my freshman class, they were all 21-year-old freshmen. So I was an 18-year-old with 21-year-olds. So It took a little bit of time to learn, and, I had to get bigger, I had to get stronger, just like anything else. And, once I got to the pace of Division III game, and, I got bigger and stronger, kind of developed as the years went along. So I didn't expect to do as well as I did there. You just want to go there, have fun, play college, and get better. And, I was able to do that.
And how quickly after, your time at Norwich, did you realize, like, I have a chance to really go play pro here?
Yeah, I mean, I think my senior year, I started talking to my coach about it, and, he said he was going to help me out. And, originally I just I would have done anything, whether it was the East Coast League, anything, just to get started. And lucky enough, my Coach McShane at Norwich knew a guy by the name of Tom Rowe, who was the general manager with the Low-Lock Monsters. And that's kind of how that all started. They got me a tryout and a 2-way contract. And actually my first training camp with the Low-Lock Monsters, my first exhibition game was against the Manchester Monarchs. And that was the first time that I was like, I can play at this level full time as long as I get the opportunity. And, I was able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Was it cool that you kind of had returned home to get your first pro gig?
Yeah, it was really good, actually. I lived at home, so I didn't have to pay any rent when I was there. That's always a plus when you're not making that much money. But yeah, that was a great experience, being able to play at home. And, my parents were at every game. All my friends around the area were here a lot. And, just family living in Walton, which isn't far either. So I had a lot of people every night. And so it made a lot of fun to be able to play in front of them the way I was able to do.
And then as your pro career kind of unfolded, there were two real stops along the way that I think stood out for me. The first, obviously, your time in Hershey, which is where probably the Hall of Fame credit came from. What was it like just playing for a community like that that's just so in love with that team?
Yeah, it was crazy. When I first played there, I played there as a visitor, but I never really realized what it was like to play there and how the support that they had. You're pretty much playing in AHL city, but you're treated like an AHLer. You go to the supermarket or food shop, and you're getting, you're signing autographs at the supermarket. So it's a very close, small community. So everybody knows who you are, and you're getting, you sell out 11,000, 12,000 people every night. So, that's a place, if you're going to be in that league, it's one of the places that you really want to play, because it's a great market. You're playing a sold out fans every night. You have a great opportunity to win a championship every year, usually when you're there. So, it was great. We had, I was there for pretty much 3.5 years, and, the first 2 years we won the Calder Cup, and we had, those two teams, we had, John Carlson, Carl Alsner, Matthew Perot, Braden Holtby. So we had a lot of guys that were really young, that were, eventually now they've been in the NHL for quite some time. So, we were loaded. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Was that probably, looking back on your career, the biggest, the best highlight, winning a Calder Cup?
Well, I was with the Carolina Hurricanes when they won the Stanley Cup, so the Black Ace with them. So I was able to, travel with the team during that experience, and I got a Stanley Cup ring, and I played Stanley Cup. So it's hard to take that away. Any NHL experience, it's probably top of the list. My first NHL goal was against Martin Brodeur. So those are the two top ones for me. But in the AHL level, obviously those 4 years were, the prime time for me, where I had the most success in my career. And so, yeah, I'd have to say those.
Did you get a day with the cup also?
I did not.
Okay.
I think you had to play. I think the rule is you had to play in the final. Play in the finals or the playoffs to do that. So I tried to sign up to get it,
but you got a ring. I
got a ring. I gave it to my parents, so they have that. So it's cool to have.
And then looking at the NHL time, you just mentioned some of the names that you played with when they were in Hershey, and obviously some of those guys moved up and were in Washington when you played in Washington. But if there's any name that really stands out that you played with, it was Alex Ovechkin. When looking back, do you have to kind of pinch yourself when you say that you played with that guy?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play with a lot of really good players. Obviously Ovechkin was probably the top. He might break Wayne Gretzky's goal record. So to be able to tell you kids, I played with Alex, and 2 years ago, I shot him a text asking if he could send me a jersey signed for my kids for Christmas. He did that for me. So, he's a great player, but also a good guy as well. But, I was lucky. I played with Jonathan Tavares for a year. I played with Stahl in Carolina. Rod Brindamore was playing. That's how old I am. So, when I was in Carolina, I got, being a big Bruins fan growing up, Glenn Wesley was in Carolina at that time. So I got to meet him and play with him, which was pretty cool to actually play with a Bruin that you watched growing up. So, I was really lucky to play with a lot of really good players. And, obviously, probably Ovechkin was probably the top of the list.
Yeah. And then time transpires and you end up in coaching. Was this always kind of your plan once the career ended?
I really didn't know what I knew I wanted to stay in the game. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was kind of play it by ear how it worked out. The biggest thing for me is I didn't want to move my family around anymore. They did it for so long, so I wanted them to stay home. So whatever I did, I wanted to stay local. And then obviously knowing, Coach DiCaprio with the Rangers, an opportunity came about, and I thought it was a great opportunity to, get my feet wet at coaching and give it a try. And, worked out really good. I really enjoyed it. It's obviously a lot different being on the other side, being a player for so long, and you understand why you pissed off so many coaches growing up, whether it's details, stopping on pucks, whatever it is. So it's definitely different. It was a learning experience that I got to do over the first 2 years of coaching, and how to treat different situations as a coach considered being a player. So I wanted to stay in the game, but coaching came first, and it's been a good experience so far.
And I was going to say, because we touched on this earlier, because you kind of follow that same path that these players want to and head towards Division III. As a coach now, are there times when you realize that you have to kind of pace your expectations and help develop players in more of a gradual process?
Yeah, it is a process. I mean, each coach expects differently. So you're getting kids that come from other coaches and what they expect, so it takes time to get a player to understand what you expect from them, day in and day out. And I think that was the toughest thing for me, is get my players to play the way I expected them to play. And I think, if they played the way I expected, I think that will help them at the next level, because I feel like I know what it takes to get to that next level and what coaches expect, when you get to college or when you get to pro, if they make it that far. I know what they expect. So I think if I can get that into them at this age level where we're at, and hopefully they can translate that as they move forward.
Is there, since you've had experience at both the EHL and EHLP levels, you were, of course, a head coach in the EHLP. You spent most of your time as an assistant at the EHL. Not to put you too much on the spot, but is there one level you prefer more, or do you like them both?
To be honest, I like them both. I mean, I kind of, the EHLP is kind of the minor league of the EHL, and so like you're trying to get those guys to develop and get to that EHL level, and then they go from college from there. And most of the time they're in the EHLP Premier because they need to develop. They need certain things to get better at, whether it's getting quicker, getting stronger, or, just the little things in the game that's going to make them better. Some things that you just need a year of development and playing the defensive zone, whatever it is that's going to take you to make that step to that next level. So I enjoy both. Like I said, I think you're helping each player get to whether EHL to college or EHLP to EHL, you're helping them out one way or the other. And I think that's the best part of coaching, is being to help these kids get to that next level. So either one's good for me. Like I said, you're helping kids either way. So that's what I enjoy doing.
And you had a taste of a victory also at the EHL level with the Rangers last year, being an assistant coach there. And now you're over with the Railers, who have a team looks like they're a contender at both levels. How sweet would it be to help them win a championship? Would you, in your mind, look at it as kind of like going back to back?
It's definitely back to back. You call it 2 championships, right? But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience last year with the Rangers to do that. It's not easy to win a championship. You need the whole team going at the same time. You need a lot of good breaks and hot goaltender, and I think we had all that. A lot of props to all the players. They put in a lot of effort, a lot of time last year dealing with the pandemic and all that. So a lot of credit goes to them. But with the Rangers, the Railers this year, we have a great group of kids that work hard every day, and we've had a great start so far. Hopefully I can help out my experiences to get them to what it takes to win a championship, because I feel like I have that. So But we're, it's the right step so far with the Railers this year, and hopefully we can get going, and maybe we'll play the Rangers in the finals.
That would be pretty special, for sure.
Yeah, I'm bragging rights there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Congrats again on being named to the AHL Hall of Fame. It's a huge honor, and you most definitely deserve it.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it.
What's up, guys? Guess what we have this weekend?
Showcase.
Hey.
It feels like every other weekend is a showcase.
I love it. I'm
Right?
not
I
complaining.
don't mind that.
Any complaints? I see none. We're all happy.
It's like the song from Smash Mouth. Hey, now you're an all-star. They don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. That's pretty much the theme this season. Just when
Wow,
you think
I
that
did
you're
not think we
finished
were
with the
gonna hear about
showcase,
Smash
nope, you got
Mouth.
another one coming up. Back to Massachusetts we go.
Just need to all learn to start chugging some caffeine at the first day. Just get through it.
Anthony,
Seriously.
we should track your miles for the year.
Where is Anthony?
Just
Where is Waldo?
up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down the entire year. It's
Hey, you can move up to the north if you want it. Come on up, buddy. Come into the North Country.
I also have some really great fantasy news. Do you guys want it now, or do you want me to wait till we get to fantasy?
Every week.
I feel like it's not really great.
Stay tuned for the E-Show podcast where Neil gets to talk about this great fantasy news.
I can tell you right now, or I can tell you later.
No, you got to keep the listeners engaged, Neil. You have to keep the suspense going.
Okay,
Like Anthony
well,
said, that is what they call a broadcast tease.
yes,
Professional.
and with that
Exactly.
tease, we'll jump into the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
And as we do each week on the weekly rundown, we reset the power rankings. But as we don't often do, we're going to start with the EHLP this week.
Ooh.
Because I think that we've talked about them a little bit, but not enough. And that's the Railers Junior Hockey Club and what they're doing right now in the P. Like, it's simply out of this world. Like,
They're running away with that league.
like, and they're quote unquote in second place, but when the games played balance out, it's gonna make sense. They literally are on another shutout streak. They haven't given up a goal since the Walpole Showcase.
Still single digits, 7
Like-
goals against.
Like,
That's stupid.
This is out of this world.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. But I mean, did you expect anything less when the Worcester Railers were coming into this organization, Neil? The Odessa family, long lineage of hockey. I think they know what they're doing through how many Odessas are there now? And I actually was just talking to my father about the Odessas. He knew one of the Odessas growing up the other day when we were talking about it. I think it was Mike, but did you expect anything less? I knew they were going to come in here and eventually, what is this, year 3 now for the Railers?
This is year 3.
Year 3, right? Yeah. COVID
I
makes it feel like they've been in the league for 10 years.
Yes. I had Mike Odessa, the GM, the father, saved in my phone as Mike Odessa the first, and I was corrected and told that he's actually the second. I was like,
the second.
I was like, hold on. I need to get back to my tree and just keep adding another branch up because there's so many of them. But they've put together.
That's what I had to ask my dad. I was like, which one? 1, 2, 3? Which Mike Odessa? That's not specific enough.
They're 9-1. Their last 3 games, they've won by scores of 4-0, 5-0, and 6-0. So if we're talking about symmetry, next game should be 7-0, right? Just follow the pattern.
Oh yeah,
But,
just keep it going.
but you got to give them credit too, because some of these teams rely very heavily on one goalie, but they're relying on their goalie tandem as a whole with LaPierre and Wickens. They're
It's
both holding it down
insane.
for them.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up because they've been like splitting them halfway through the game. You look at like 3 of their past 4 box scores, they get to 30 minutes in and they're like, all right, switch.
It's not a showcase. It's not like you have the 225s where you do that. It's
No, they're
standard 320s. They're just like, yep, switch.
Here's the 4-0 game against the Rangers, and one goalie played 31-27. The other goalie played 28-33. I'm sure if there was a whistle closer to the 30-minute mark, they would have switched
them.
then. But it's like,
Yeah.
like they're literally switching these guys halfway through.
You all know what?
That's
okay.
how
Unbelievable.
No, you go, Anthony.
Okay. What I also find impressive about the Railers is that the goal scoring looks pretty evened out. So they have 37 goals in 10 games. So that's basic math, 3.7 goals per game. So the offense looks pretty good. They only have one player who has 10 points on the dot, and the rest are pretty even now. You have Charles Lavoie, Lawson, McAleer, Pacheco. these guys are 10 points, 8 points, 8.7. So it's very evenly spread out. This is a team that scores by committee. So they're a team it doesn't really have too many weaknesses. I mean, I think that they just came out with the mission after they lost to the 87s in that championship game, and they just bolstered up their weaknesses, and they're just dominating right now.
I think that's a good point, Anthony. I think they used last year's Frozen Finals appearance as a momentum boost, and they took that into this year. And like you said, they loaded up. And our buddy Jaden Blackburn, he's missed a few games because he got injured, but he's got 5 points in 7 games. So what are their scores like if he was able to play those other 3 games? He's got 4 goals and assists. That kid can put a lot of pucks in the net, and he's quite the diminutive forward, if you will, too. He's not a big dude, but he puts a lot of pucks in the net, and he's a damn good player, and that's a damn good team. And the I know we're going to get to the EHL later, but their EHL team's kind of doing the same thing. Kolonic's played 7 games now. Maluski's played 4. So some kind of organizational decision to kind of go with 2 goalies. I like it. It's different. Hockey's changed.
I wonder why they don't use Justin's favorite hashtag, which is hashtag revenge tour. But we bring them
Maybe
up. What?
Do they not see revenge? They're like,
No, I think they're just on such a mission.
They're
It's
on a mission,
awesome.
yeah.
They're 9-1. They have a New Jersey weekend coming up. They're facing the Renegades and the 87s in the showcase. They obviously stay at number 1. They won 2 games by a combined score 11-0. They stay at number 1. We're actually recording this the day that we dropped the podcast this week. We all have busy schedules, so we have to kind of record it on a Thursday. So the number 2 ranked team from last week is actually currently playing while we record this podcast. The Lumberjacks are currently playing the Avalanche, but the Lumberjacks actually just dropped both of their games to the Seahawks the past 2 days. So they probably have to fall out of number 2, even though both games were 1-goal contests. The Seahawks are the first place team in that East Division. We talk so much about the East Division in the EHL. The East Division and the EHLP may be more competitive.
They're a wagon.
yeah, records wise, absolutely. I mean, you have 2 teams. The Railers are about to be a double-digit win team. Seahawks 10-4-1, Rangers at 8-6. And we've said before, too, the Rangers at 8-6, they're a better P team than that record shows with their deep history in the last bunch of years. So, yeah, the East P might be a little better than the EHL East.
So as I mentioned before, the Seahawks won both their games against the Lumberjacks. So they won both 2-3 matchups. I think it's pretty safe to say Railers are 1, Seahawks are 2. Then from there, we just have to kind of figure things out again, as we do every week. You move teams out, move teams in. I think Vermont, whether they win today's game against the Avalanche or not, I do think they have to fall out with their 2 losses. But the question is, who do you move in
I don't
from
think
there?
so.
You don't
I
think
disagree.
so?
No.
Oh,
Okay. Let's hear why.
Well, I mean, yeah, they did lose to the Seahawks, but like you said, they were 1-goal losses, so I don't see that as that bad. And when you look at a team like the Chiefs and you bring them into the mix, they split their weekend with 1 win and 1 loss, and I don't think that's enough to really pass the Lumbies, and I don't think that the Lumbies losing to the Seahawks is enough to really drop them that far, because like you said, it's 1-goal contest. That's not a huge loss. That's still a pretty competitive loss. So I don't think they should fall out.
Do they fall to 3?
Or
do they fall to 4?
I would think they would fall to 3, and I think we should bring the Chiefs up to 4, because I think the Chiefs are starting to look pretty solid. Despite splitting the weekend, I think they still look pretty solid, but not solid enough yet to pass the Lumberjacks.
Okay. So that's
a lot of 5 and 5 teams.
That just makes one switch then. That just switches 2 and 3.
Yeah.
We would last week was Railers, Lumberjacks, Seahawks, Chiefs. That would make this week Railers, Seahawks, Lumberjacks, Chiefs.
I'd be fine with that. Anthony, you okay with that?
I'm trying. I don't know.
We're all chewing on it. We all have to. It's good. Everyone brings up their opinions,
team.
we discuss.
A team that's been in for a while that I'm sure wants to get back in is Valley, but Valley split their weekend. They lost 5-0 to the Railers, which they are the Railers. And they they won 2 of 3 They beat the Wolves on Thursday 4-1. They lost to the Railers 5-0 on Friday, and they beat the Little Flyers 2-1 on Saturday. So maybe they're receiving votes. I mean, they have a game with the Rangers coming up this weekend and a game with the Lumberjacks. So that game with the Lumberjacks could be their chance to get back in.
And we'll have to see.
After
they're gonna play at the showcase?
Yes. So yeah. I'm saying after them, I'm not sure who else, to Lauren's point, has an argument to get in.
Right. It's a lot of teams. I know we haven't played a ton of games when you look at like the last 10, but a lot of teams that are around 5-5 in the last 10. Rangers are 7-3 though. I mean, they're 8-6, but they're one of the hotter teams as of late. So they started out poorly and they've kind of rattled off a bunch of victories. But like you're saying, Neil, do they deserve to vault into the top 5 power rankings right now?
I mean, the Rangers and the Warriors each have a shutout loss in the past week and a half to the Railers. It's just what the Railers are doing. Like it's insane. They're shutting out top teams.
Yeah.
So yep. I'm good with Railers, Seahawks, Lumberjacks, Chiefs, and then receiving votes, Warriors.
And Rangers?
No receiving votes.
I don't think
no receiving votes.
Okay.
Wow.
I feel like I don't feel like there's anything too super exciting right now to be throwing votes at.
I'm in favor of
especially when you're sitting here saying that like they lost to the Railers, like you want to throw them votes because they lost to the Railers. Like I don't think that really makes much sense.
Okay.
You were just arguing to keep the Lumberjacks in even though they lost games.
Yes, because I don't think their losses were bad enough to constitute completely dropping them out. They were only 1-goal contests. They weren't just sitting there twiddling their thumbs and having getting shut out both times. They only lost by 1 goal each.
Controversy. This is what makes podcasts fun. Discussion.
We're arguing over the votes now. I love this.
Not the first.
Wait till we get to the EHL. It's a mess.
You know what? We'll add fuel. We'll put no receiving votes, and for those teams that want to receive votes or get into the top 4, show us at the showcase this weekend. Railers, Seahawks.
Give our league headquarters in Hampstead, New Hampshire, a call.
Don't come to my house. Railers, Seahawks, Lumberjacks.
I didn't say where that was. What?
They're just gonna start driving the streets of Hampstead. We'll find them eventually.
Woodsy up there. You'll end up at the Atkinson Golf Club before you will.
Man. Railers, Seahawks, Lumberjacks, Chiefs. There's your final answer for the EHLP. Moving to the EHL.
Thank you, Alex. Beautiful.
What the Railers are doing in the EHLP is kind of similar to what the Rangers are doing in the EHL. The Rangers lost on the first day of October and then won every other game they had in October.
Yeah, so I don't think we're moving them out of 1, are we?
No, we're not. And of
that's
course,
a team that likes the power rankings. They're like, we'll stay here.
When teams start to go on these winning streaks like this, it makes you have to go look at the record books just to kind of see what's going on and where they would be at. Obviously, 9 doesn't crack their way in, but they're slowly getting, the winning streak records that we have. The record will never be touched. That was 30 games in the 2016-17 season.
So the Little Flyers year?
That was the Little Flyers year.
They only lost 2 games on regulation.
They were an absolute wagon. And honestly, the junior Flyers they had some crazy streak in there as well. I think they had a 17-game point streak or something like that. That's the team they lost to in the finals.
Yeah.
But after that, the 4 next winning streaks are 17, 16, 15, 14. Now, it's not going to be easy for the Rangers, but they're kind of at that third quarter of reaching that mark, right? A good 2 weeks here and they're there, but obviously you look at the games that they've played, there's some close contests in there as well. So trying to get to their showcase schedule coming up this weekend. I know they have the Railers.
They got Protect Sunday.
So they have Protect, who is starting to play better. The Railers, who we had at number 2. So there's been games in there that they've come close to losing. Speaking of the Railers, they had that shootout win against them last Tuesday.
And fun fact, Neil, I actually was on the call for one of their 2 losses this year, which was at a showcase to the hands of the Philadelphia Little Flyers, 3-1. It was the first game. So
that was the October 1st game. So
those showcase games are different.
Yeah, they'll stay at 1. They have the Ducks and Railers this weekend. If they get through that weekend unscathed, a huge home and home the weekend of the 12th and 13th against the second place team in the East Division, the East Coast Wizards. That could be pretty big. So they stay at 1, and then it's kind of, what do we want to do from here? Because the Railers, how about the 2 games that they had coming out of the All-Star break? They faced the Rangers first, and then they faced the Avalanche second, and both games went to a shootout. And they won. They lost to the Rangers. They beat the Avalanche. I think they stay at 2.
Yeah, I think so, because the Avalanche have been one of the hottest EHL teams right now. They are clicking on all cylinders. Sony, Hotchkiss, Ronan Mobley looks really good. So yeah, that's a huge win, especially 5-4 too, to be able to put that many goals past, or for the Railers to be able to score that many goals. That's a big thing. So yeah, I'd say that's a good spot for them right now.
And I called that game. That was only my 3rd game called.
That was
the 2
you had
goals.
said it was top plays galore,
dude. The 2 goals that the Railers scored in the shootout were disgusting. Like the first was Damon Dulac, and then the second was Dimascola, Mike. Like they were dying. Like both were on the backhand. The first was I think he like stopped and like kept his feet moving, and the second was through the 5-hole. Of course,
see Dulac's goal in the top plays. It looked really good.
Yes,
well done, Lauren. Well done.
When the Avalanche,
just like the P team, look how deep they are. We were just talking about in the group chat the other day. McGlashing's another guy that a lot of us like that may make his way onto a fantasy roster soon. Everyone's always talked about Anastasi and Pimentel and those guys, but yeah, they get some other forwards in D. Tyler Drummond started to show up a little bit. He was a big defenseman for them last year. So yeah, Railers E, deep like the Railers P.
So Rangers 1, Railers 2. And this is where I got to bring Anthony back in here for a second, because this is where it's going to start getting interesting. Because we had Maryland at 3, and I do think Maryland is a good hockey team. How good, I don't know yet. And I understand that the parity that we've seen in this league has been just fluid throughout. But we've talked about Maryland's wins against teams like the 87s. Anthony, you're being the 87s guy. Do you know that the 87s have more losses this season than they had all of last year?
Yep.
Is it time to hit the panic button?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I do think they're playing good hockey. They only had one really bad loss. That was the 5-1 loss against the Little Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the other losses, they're out shooting teams. They're outplaying teams for a good portion of these games. They're just not putting the puck in the net. So maybe it's just trying to find another goal scorer. They picked up Matt Anastasio recently, and he played 2 games so far for the 87s. He's looked pretty good offensively, just needs to put the puck in the net. But no, I don't know if they should hit the panic button.
I bring it up because what took place in the South this past weekend with Maryland at 3, like it's just, I can't wrap my head around it. Like Maryland goes and splits the series with Pro Tech, but then beats the Little Flyers, who, for lack of a better term, smacked the 87s, their worst loss of the year on Friday. And then the Ducks beat the 87s on Saturday, I think is what it was.
Tuesday.
Wow, I'm really off right now. My dates. I was off by 3. I think it's 2022, right? Okay. Anyways, but it's just so like Maryland's 13-4. Are they the 3rd best team in the league right now? I don't know.
I don't know either, because like we've said, like we've gone into, like they're kind of they're one of our favorite teams on the Who Are They segment this year, and not that the Who Are They segment is a good thing or a bad thing, right? It's just kind of like, who are you? Because in your 4 losses, you haven't looked very great, and some of those 13 wins have been suspect too. And like we've said, with the balancing of the divisions and whatnot too, the 87s are trying to figure themselves out. Team Maryland is. So like the entire division. And luckily we're playing teams that aren't just in our division this year. Thank God. Imagine if we were back to the COVID schedule like last year and we were just having those 4 teams play just those 4 teams. But yeah,
they have 6 wins in games that are decided by 2 goals or less. Do we give them the credit for winning those games, or is there discredit for how close they've been to maybe losing some of those games?
I think we can't really drop them necessarily. Like, I don't know. I think they're struggling a little bit, but like, I think there is some form of consistency there. But like,
Okay.
when you talk about it too, they did lose to the Ducks, but they beat them the next day, but then beat the Little Flyers, but they didn't really beat them that much because it was only a 3-1 win, and that third goal was an empty net. So like that was actually a pretty tight game when you really look at it. So it's like
Basically,
they barely won the 2 games that they did that week.
Wait,
so it's like,
and weren't you just saying, well, yeah, the Boston Junior Rangers have that winning streak, but hang on, some of their games went into overtime, a shootout, but now when it's the South Division, all of a sudden you're looking at the wins like, oh, wait a minute, well, Farrell didn't score a hat trick in this game. Maybe Maryland shouldn't go up to the top 3. Like, come on, Neil.
Okay.
I don't think they should fall, but like I don't think they need to move up either. I think they're just
they
fine
stay
where
right
they are
at
for
3.
now. Yeah. Because I don't think they did enough to really move up, but then I don't think they did enough. Like, I don't think enough happened to them for them to really fall.
Okay, that's fair. I guess what I'm searching for, Anthony, is that one real big, bold statement victory. And maybe they've already got that, and I'm discrediting someone somewhere. But the game that still stands out to me, Farrell didn't even play in that game when they lost to the Rangers 3-0 in the showcase. I'm just maybe it's me searching for that big, bold statement victory.
Are you saying Farrell Din is Team Maryland? You said
no,
they can't have
I'm
a big
not
statement win without a player like that.
But that game stands out to me. They got shut out by the Rangers.
Well, it's
and
the
actually,
Rangers.
I think Tyler was the one that called that too, and he even said he was like, I was expecting a little more from both sides, and it was kind of just a. I don't know if you want to say boring 3-0 win for the Rangers, but kind of to that degree. We thought that game had a little more oomph to it, and I guess it just didn't.
So, I mean, they play Walpole this weekend and Vermont this weekend. I agree. They're going to stay at 3. Walpole is a team that we put them up all the way to number 1, and I think we kind of cursed them because they've gone down since then. But again, talk about giving teams credit for close games, that they're just on the wrong side of a bunch of 1-goal contests lately. They flip that around against a team like Maryland, and that could spike them or spark them for the future. I'm fine keeping Maryland at 3. I think that would probably keep the Rangers then at number 4. They, since our last podcast, beat this.
Hold on a minute.
The Avalanche. The Avalanche.
Oh yeah, Rich, Chris, same person.
They beat the Spartans on Friday, 5-0. I think that was that score, and then they lost that game to the Railers on Saturday in a shootout. So a 1-0-1 week, and they stay at 4, and then we get to 5, and I don't know, it's just weird to me a little bit that a team that's tied for quote unquote last place in the South is currently ranked 5th in our power rankings.
It's
ironic,
the Little Flyers.
Flyers, okay.
They're tied with
Pro Tech. They deserve to stay up there.
But they have 3 games in hand.
They have 3 games in hand. That's a fair point.
But I would also say that I think either one of the Connecticut teams deserves some love. The Connecticut Chiefs and the Connecticut Rough Riders.
I think they deserve votes, but I think Little Flyers definitely stay.
Come on, we need to talk about the Nutmeg State people. Did you know? Hang on, here's some fun facts about Connecticut. The hamburger was invented in Connecticut, probably by Walter Brown III. Okay?
Keep going.
I think it's the 5th, isn't it?
No, he's saying that the 5th is in our league, so not the 4th, but the 3rd is the one that invented it because it was that many years ago.
Well done.
Go on.
History lesson.
Let's see. On January 28th, 1878, 21 venture citizens of New Haven became the world's first subscribers to the telephone exchange service, and I'm sure Jack Devine's family was one of them too.
Okay.
Jack Devine, sir. If you're going to talk
Devine,
about the Chiefs, you better be getting these names right, especially when you're sitting here saying, "Oh, we need to make sure we get these names right." You just said one wrong.
Everyone's feisty. Morning recordings. Everyone's killing it.
I interviewed him. I made sure to ask. People thought I was stupid for clarifying his name, but I clarified it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Lauren. Because
Jeff, are they both
last week?
Are they both on the bottom of your screen?
They are.
Okay, so it's like they're going like sideways at each other right now.
Yep,
I love it.
Ding ding. Round one, fight.
Also, the Polaroid camera, helicopter, and color television were also all invented in Connecticut.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I bet Steve Brown knows that. Brownie's a big fact.
And your last fact is Neil Rappin went to college in Connecticut. Moving on.
Quinnipiac. Cats. What up, Red Techno?
So splitting their games by beating the 87s on Friday, losing to Maryland with the empty netter. Yeah, maybe the Little Flyers do stay at number 5.
Yes.
I did have Mark Hatchon say to me, how can you outshoot a team, get 3 breakaways, and hit 4 posts and still lose? I said, that's hockey. So that was the game against Maryland. So we'll keep the same 5 in the exact same order. But now we get to the same debate that we had about 10 minutes ago over who gets to receive votes.
I think
sounds like Anthony and Lauren want the Chiefs. Yeah,
I think they absolutely.
I'd even put the Rough Riders in there. They're looking like they're a team that's putting it together.
They both are, but they're.
I wouldn't pull for the Rough Riders as much right now. I'm not discounting them because I think they are starting to make a name for themselves a little bit. But I think the Chiefs definitely need to receive votes. They're finally, as we like to say, on the come up. So I think they definitely are one that needs to be looked at for sure.
All right. I mean, I will just point out, though, that the Rough Riders have won 3 of their last 4 games, and they've won 5 of their last 7. So, whether or not you give them receiving votes, just putting it out there for the rest of the league, watch out for the Rough Riders. Their slow start did not define who they are, and they are not going to be an easy game moving out for the rest of the season. Probably one of the harder games that most teams will have when they face them.
Plus, they have Mr. 100 career points Colin Bella over there, so they have nothing to really worry about with him.
I like that addition the Chiefs made of Rossi. He made a difference the other day in the Warriors game. He had a couple of goals. Luke Jordan's another new name that they've added. So, yeah, I mean, Coach Heffernan in his first year, he's switching some things up. He's about a little over 10 games in now, and he's moving the roster around and looks like he's hitting the right buttons, and guys are feeling. Jack Devine's unbelievable. That kid. That first
he pulled
line,
the Datsuki
Harshaw,
and Deke in the shootout. How can you not love Devine?
And then you saw Harshaw on Lauren's top plays this week on the EHL top plays done by Lauren. That was a filthy move. Harshaw.
So Chiefs receiving votes, but Lauren, I have to ask, have you just abandoned your preseason favorite team?
The Valley Junior Warriors?
Vermont.
What?
Oh, Vermont. The Lumbies.
They've won 4 straight games, and they play the Avalanche today.
I'm not discounting them. I think they're fine. They've had a little bit of struggles. They did hit a little bit of a rough patch here in the beginning, like here and there. But I think they're one to watch out for too. I'm definitely not discrediting them at all. But I think.
Okay. Do they receive votes?
I think the teams we've been talking about have done a little bit more. But I'm excited to watch the Lumberjacks this weekend at the showcase because I think they're gonna do some good stuff.
Are they receiving votes like the Chiefs are?
I think we could.
Okay.
I think we definitely could.
Because if you said they weren't, then I was going to say that they were receiving Neil's vote because they've scored 22 goals in 4 games.
And
their last couple games, they beat the Wizards 8-4. They some of their players have just been absolutely just racking up the points. Tyler Penry the other day just getting all kinds of points. Egan Schmidt's just staying hot. It's just a fun time to watch in the Lumberjacks.
That's 4 good wins. 2 wins against Seacoast, 1 against the Seahawks, 1 against the Wizards. All very good teams that, yes, the Seacoast is also the Seacoast edition of this year's Spartans has been on the Who Are They segment quite a bit too, and they're still figuring that out, but still a good team nonetheless. And Lumberjacks definitely starting to move. They played well at the last, I think it was the first showcase that they stormed in. I think they like those 2 25-minute periods. With their speed, I think they like to just keep go.
So the 5 in the EHL stay the same with receiving votes for the Chiefs and for the Lumberjacks. And that means I can now get to my good news with the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
It's time for the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
And the eCrew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
Jeff, for the past 2 years, what have I complained about forever when it comes to fantasy?
Hat trick points.
And who gets the first hat trick of the year?
Yeah,
you did.
Yes.
Don't you have 2 now?
No, just 1.
Oh, just one. I thought I saw.
Don't be fueling his ego anymore.
I thought I saw HT at a 2 in your
Stop.
column the other day. I was like, what?
Now,
Ugh.
at first,
You have so many bonus points.
At
the rest of us have
first,
like none.
the third goal was credited to Jack Boschert, which if he scored while being the
let's
backup
go.
goalie for the day, that would be an incredible feat.
I get plus 50
if
points.
in-
And look,
at the
I'm in
extra
first now,
rink,
guys.
There's no
Wow.
glass right there, so if he had his stick with him, he could easily reach out and snag a goal. I'm telling
What
you.
if the puck hit his blocker hanging over the glass and just redirected in?
Actually, if we're
Good
going
goal.
to talk if we're going to talk about goalie goals, I just want to give a quick shout out to Aiden Weller. Now he plays for the 87's 18U team, but he helps out working the camera for the EHL and EHLP games. When the 87's P team faced the Avalanche, their 18U team also came down to New Jersey to play this weekend. And when the Avalanche pulled the goalie, there was a centering pass from the corner. Weller got his stick on it. Like he deflected the pass and it careened all the way down into the empty net. So he didn't quite shoot it a la Hextall or Brodeur, but it also wasn't one of those cheapies where he made the save and the other team passed it in the goal. And he went right to the bench. He sallied hard after he scored that goal. So
He did the drive-by. Oh my
Love the
god.
heart.
I love that.
It was cool to see an actual goalie goal, Jersey Shore Arena. And again, even though it technically wasn't the EHL, I thought he deserves a shout out there.
Yeah, he does for sure. But to break down what took place, we had kind of an extended fantasy week that we're coming off of because we had the All-Star break, which teams were a little bit slow with their schedules out of it into this past week. So we went for probably like 10 days or so as opposed to the regular 7, which Jeff,
It did not help.
well, listen,
I did have some decent points
Oh.
actually when I looked
Yeah.
at it, but
and it's going to get
Can't keep
better.
up with
Like
you
it's a
guys.
long season. Like, Graziano got you 5 points. Mettler decided, you know what, I'm just going to go win the October Defenseman of the Month in the last week here. He got you 16 fantasy points with a goal, 6 assists, and 1 power play point. Boschert has been excellent all year, struggled a little bit as Walpole has. So he's still
Yeah.
got
Got
you.
Jeff a goal.
Not technically.
thank you to my my number one cheerleader out there, Sean Walsh, head coach of SNU, Southern New Hampshire University, calling both the executive producer Justin Squitieri and myself yesterday to make sure I got those points. He said that man deserves those points. He got credit for that goal, so give him the credit. I said I don't think that's going to stick, Walsh, but thanks, buddy. Love you.
You know what? Walshy is one of the biggest supporters of our league.
Yes,
And he's at every showcase. So I think this is a
Loves me.
perfect time to hit pause and go to Lauren's interview with him at the Walpole Showcase.
I'm Lauren Smith here with Sean Walsh. He works for the Southern New Hampshire University. And what makes the EHL so special? What keeps you guys coming out to look at our guys?
I just think there's a lot of good hockey players in the league throughout multiple teams, and I think all of the showcases do a good job at showing off all the players against different teams. So I think it's a great event to showcase, and it's one drive to one rink, and you get to see all the teams play.
And when it comes to coming to these showcases, what do you look for in the players? What do you look for maybe in the teams as a whole? What are you trying to find out of these guys?
Yeah, I think year to year it really depends on what you're graduating and what you need to replace, whether it's guys on the power play or penalty kill guys or goalies or offensive defensemen. So I think every year it changes depending on either what you're lacking or what you need based on graduation for this upcoming year.
And how do you decide which showcases you go to? Because I'm sure you get a lot on your plate and you probably have to pick and choose which ones you decide to go to.
Yeah, I think part of it depends on our schedule. Obviously, location's a big factor for us. Getting to the ones in driving distance within an hour are pretty easy for us. So I think that with a practice schedule and game schedule is a big factor in where we go and when we go.
We appreciate you coming out, and we look forward to hopefully seeing some of our guys on your team.
Yeah, thanks. And number one play should have been the goalie. The goalie save.
As I mentioned, Walshy's at every showcase. We can count on him being there again this weekend. In terms of like after us four, who knows the most players in the league? It's Sean Walsh, right?
Yeah,
like he
without
knows
a doubt.
everyone. But to get back to
always has his pen. Always writing his little notes. Then he'll come over to me, and
yes.
I like too that he works with us too. Like he says, like, what did you see out there? What did you see this period from this person, that person? Kind of takes our 2 cents and then gives his 2 cents. And Yeah, he's a guy that's been around for a long time, played hockey himself a few years ago. So actually, he's still playing. He's still playing in some beer leagues. He's still competing. And I think his team just won a championship possibly. But
yes. I mean, you still
great
got
hockey mind.
30.4 fantasy points in the last
I'm
week.
still in last.
But that makes you get the pick again. And listen, if this week's lineup doesn't get you anything, then,
Neil,
you have to just throw your hands up and say, what do I have to do? Because you literally, this is like picking all the high seeds in the March Madness in basketball. Like you literally went chalk. Right. Here's top.
I'm very sad about one of your picks because I wanted him. Very sad.
Let's hear it.
Where are you? Who are you sad about, Lauren? Was it Mr.
Go ahead.
Was it Mr. Egan Schmidt?
Let the crowd go.
Well, that's what I said last week. I know Anthony's had a rough go of it lately with all of us giving the 87 some stuff, but Matthew Zdanowicz. What did I do to you, sir? I think I had looked and he had only 2 games where he had no points. And I said this to my beautiful girlfriend, Christina. I said, here's the issue with fantasy. I'm picking Zdanowicz this week. He has 2 games out of, I think at the time it was 12 played where he had no points. So if he puts up no points this week, then I'm cursed and the players hate me for some reason when I pick them. And he only got me an assist, but it's all right, Matt. Well, hopefully you'll get back on good strides later on. And maybe it'll be on my team. Maybe it won't. But yeah, I did have to bring big old Egan Schmidt into fantasy this week because he did some unbelievable things for Lauren last week. Did a little bit of everything. As Egan does. He scores on the power play. He scores shorthanded. He assists. He does it all. So Egan, please do it all. You're one of the 3 teams that plays 4 times this week. So had to go with Schmidt. And then I had to double up as well. I had to pick Michael Tersoni and Ronan Mobley because, again, the Avalanche played 3 games this week. So I'm hoping Mobley, Chris, come on, put Mobley in for 2. Maybe Mr. Paremba gets 1. Hey, maybe Mobley gets all 3. I mean, let's keep him out there. Keep trotting him out into that blue paint. Keep the W's piling up. And then I went back to back. Like Neil said, I had to go chalk. This is not a time to get cute, as I say. For the rest of you that are higher up in the heavens of the standings, you guys can get cute right now. I can't, so I have to go chalk and back-to-back weeks of Jimmy Metler because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He had a goal and 6 assists last week, so let's go, Jimmy.
Will this create a new rule? Jeff, you can't pick Metler next week.
That's fine. I wouldn't go for the hat trick of picks. I would not pick him again. Hopefully I don't finish first this week, so it won't be an issue. One of you would end up taking.
Neil, are we playing Calvin ball now? Calvin fantasy, just making up rules on the fly?
Well, according to Justin, this is how I won last year because I made up rules on the fly. As he types in the chat, Neil makes up rules all year long. Anyways, let's get to Lauren's picks because, yes, she put up 37.2 points because of Egan Schmidt, who coming out of the All-Star break decided, let's just go score 5 goals, get an assist, 3 power play points, 2 shorthanded points, and a game winner. And what's interesting too, you pointed out one of your picks this week in Penry. The game they played yesterday was against Seahawks, right? And they won that game. And Egan had no points in that game. LaValle had no points in that game. I know Anthony picked LaValle. It was all like their secondary scorers. So that's why I'm kind of high on Vermont right now. But overall, as I mentioned, she got 37.2 points, 25 from Egan Schmidt, 8.2 from Nathan Miller, a pair of assists from Logan Derryberry. So what do you got?
That utility pick. He was actually better than the defenseman pick of Matt Herrick. So well done, Lauren. Well done. You showed us.
Golf claps.
Good job.
Yep.
Your picks for this week.
Rookie.
I brought back one familiar face, and then I brought back a couple that we haven't seen yet, and I guess one we saw previously. But bringing up my forwards, I went with a railer. I chose Mr. Ben McGlashing. We've been kind of hyping him up a little bit so far on this episode.
Oh, I wanted him.
I'm so excited to see what he can do because, like, I was talking with Trevor Blackburn about this the other day. He works for the Railers, and he loves that kid, and it's just. I'm excited to see what he can do because he's a big kid. He's like, I think 6'3", and he made me look tiny in my interview with him. He's a tall dude, and like just the things he can do with being like that big and like just he is definitely one to watch. So I'm excited to be able to snag him. Sorry, Neil, but also not sorry. I'm excited for him to be on Team Low. On defense,
week,
I
Neil.
brought back an old favorite. I think some people might recognize this name. I'm bringing back Thomas Dempsey from the Avs. I think he's been pretty solid so far this season. We saw him at the All-Star game as well, which is good recognition for him and all his hard work. And the Avs have quite a few games coming up too, so that was smart choice to pick from. In terms of goaltending, I'm bringing back Josh Kotai. I think Neil
I had
him on his team.
Oh, he was big for Neil last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
3
so
wins, I
I'm
think.
excited to see what he can do because, as we've been saying, the Lumberjacks have started to kind of get hot again. So that's probably a good team to be picking from. And for my utility, also picking from the Lumberjacks. We just talked about him as well, Tyler Penry. I think it's funny to mention too that Egan Schmidt can have some games where he's quiet, but someone like Tyler Penry will just like pick up that slack and just be like, all right, I got you. Like, we're going to get this win done. No problem. Yeah. Like, he's definitely been one to watch. I think he has been a little quiet. And like, I feel like people have been kind of not dismissing him, but I think they haven't been putting as much focus on him that he deserves. So I'm excited to see what he can do for my team.
And Anthony actually had the best week. I say week. It was October 21st, November 3rd, our last fantasy quote unquote week. He had the best week going until my hat trick. I got to bring up the hat trick again. Sorry. Just got to keep plugging that one in there. He had 46.6 points this past week. And like, not to be remiss is like, we mentioned Egan Schmidt had 25. Aiden LaValle had 23 for Anthony. Like he was literally almost just as good, more on the assisting side of things. And then when he scored, he had both of his goals were game-winning goals. I know I've asked you this question before, Anthony, but Tristan Fadadad got you 2 wins, one of which was against the 87. So you got to kind of call that game. Must have been a little bit of a thorn in your side while you were calling the game. But like I said,
that was a nice pick, though.
It was a great pick. He got him 14.6 points. Just those 2 guys alone are over 37 points. So 46.6, which set him up to pick 3rd this week. Who do you have for the November showcase?
Okay, so let's go through the picks. I'm going first off with the New Hampshire Avalanche. They're one of the hotter teams right now in the Eastern Hockey League. And you got to go with Aiden Hotchkiss. He's been on a tear recently. He has points in his last 4 games, including a couple of multi-point games. So I'm going to go with Hotchkiss for the forward. For defense, I have to go with Victor Malzahn. Forward defender, he's second for the Boston Junior Rangers total in points. He has 14 points in 14 games. He's also riding a 3-game point streak, 2 goals, 5 points in his last 3 games. They're going up against the ProTech Junior Ducks. I think he's one who can #attack the nest. For goaltender, I'm going with Jackson Bernard. Now, Bernard's save percentage has taken a dip. It's only .918, and he's had a couple of rough starts. But I think if there's any time for a player like Jackson Bernard to turn it on, it's in the showcase. I think he thrives under the spotlight, and I think that this is a good time to go for that pick. And then I talked about it earlier. Got to go back to the Nutmeg State. Another fun fact, the first blast furnace in Connecticut was built in Lakeville back in 1762. A player who's heating up right now, Lucas Baxi, has a 7-game point streak. He has 16 points in 12 games. I think he's going to light it up in this showcase, so he is my utility pick.
Okay.
A couple of guys I picked earlier in the season, Malzahn and Baxi. I like that, Anthony.
I didn't even know there was a town called Lakeville. But anyways, we'll go with this. For one final time, I got a hat trick last week. That is what propelled me into the league.
Okay, can you take your ego outside, please?
Hey,
no, I can't.
Yeah, you closed the windows this time. You can't take it out.
It's a little cold up here in New Hampshire.
Oh man.
Colin Bellegami 3 points. William White 5 points. Kotai, who Lauren picked, helped the Lumberjacks rattle off 3 straight wins. I would imagine he gets the start in goal this afternoon for that Avalanche Lumberjacks game, which this entire crew is going to go turn that on the second that we end the podcast, because you all have picks in that game. I have a pick too. And then Justin Guelph, as I mentioned, got me 4 goals, including the hat trick against Seacoast for 19 points.
Did you know that Neil got a hat trick?
Did you know that I picked last week and I picked last this week? There should be another bonus point for that. I got 49.2 points. And then I picked 4 guys who haven't been picked before. But Jake the Napoli had an overtime winner at the last showcase in Walpole. That was against the New York Apple Corps. I do have a reason to watch that Lumberjacks Avalanche game because I have Corey Papauser on defense. He's a player that, whether it was last year or this year, the second he has a chance to join the rush, he's going to join it. I'm going to skip to my utility for a second because we mentioned him earlier. Hunter Rossi has only played 5 games, already has 3 goals for the Connecticut Chiefs, who just received votes, and the Nutmeg State is on the come up, whatever that means.
Oh my God.
So much learning about Connecticut.
Like, I got to the goalies, and like it almost took me an hour. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, who am I supposed to pick? Like, you know, there's so many good options, but there's also the risk of not knowing who's going to play, right? Like, you look at what the Wizards have done all year long. They've rotated 3 goalies literally every other game. They've gone 1, 2, 3. So
welcome to my life, Neil.
It's tough. You know, it's Justin says I always rush people and say you're on the clock. I got the pick last, so I got to take my time. I'm picking Cam Holbrook.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
I can't.
Everyone's just hammering each other today.
Yes, every time. All right, I'm picking Cam Holbrook for the Wolves. I just have a feeling. I had a feeling about Kotai. I hope I have the same feeling about Holbrook. They have games against the Rough Riders, who you guys have a few Rough Riders throughout, and then they have a game against the Apple Corps. So, Anthony, we're gonna have a goaltending maybe matchup against each other in that showcase game. But just to recap the overall points before we get to the what to watch for.
I would just like to say, though, you love to sit there and tout yourself for picking new people every time, but I've been trying to pick at least like one new face almost every week, and everyone craps on me for it because like you're kind of going out of the box there with some of these picks, and I'm like, well, they've been working, so I don't know what to do.
I was just saying that the majority of your picks this week have been picked before, but when they go out and get points this week and my new picks get none, we'll begin next week's podcast by you guys saying, what's up, Neil? You didn't win or you didn't get first this week.
We can't win. We pick new people and we get told off, but then we pick the same people, we get told off. We can't please you.
Welcome to the EQ Fantasy Challenge. So I have to bring up the other big announcement.
The news.
Yes, the other big announcement. We announced the players that are going to be participating in the first annual EHL All-Star Classic, which will have 36 forwards, 24D, and 8 goaltenders. Pretty soon, we're going to be announcing the 4 sets of coaching duos for that event because it's kind of a mini 4-team tournament. Each team is going to play 4 games. They're going to play the other 3 teams, and then there's going to be a consolation game and a championship game. This is November 21st and 22nd at the Ice Den. So each team is going to be led by 2 coaches from one division. So there's going to be 2 coaches from the North, 2 coaches from the East, 2 coaches from the Central, and 2 coaches from the South. Between now and next Tuesday, ideally, I will connect each one of you with your coaching pair to get yourself prepared for Tuesday's draft of the 68 players, as it's kind of a 3-headed monster each of us will be making. Anthony will be paired with the 2 North coaches. Jeff will be paired with the 2 East coaches. Owen will be paired with the 2 Central coaches. And I wrote down Anthony twice on my notes. I'm going to have the South coaches.
Anthony, you're coaching
not
too.
Participating.
Yeah.
So we're going to
shout.
Between now and next week's podcast, we're going to have that draft and pick each one of our teams. And I have a feeling that the coaching duos are going to lean on us pretty heavily for that draft, but it just gives us some extra, I don't want to say motivation, but some extra homework, I guess, this weekend to take a look at those 68 players. We all have a good idea of who they are already, but watch them specifically in this event because coming out of the showcase, they'll have one weekend, that weekend of the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And then the following weekend is this all-star event. And whatever team we have, everything that they do, we will accrue more fantasy points. So we'll have to come up
the massive one we did last year, the 12-6.
Yes.
12-6-3.
But what's good? What I have to figure out with Justin is what bonus points do you get if your team wins the tournament? Forget the goals and the assists and all that. If your team wins the tournament, because as I mentioned, it's a 4-team mini tournament. Each game is 2 20-minute periods. So you play 2 the first day, 2 the second day. There's 2 teams that are going to move on to the consolation game and 2 teams that move on to the championship game. What do you get if your team wins?
You get whatever points you need to move into first place.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I'm back. I'm in first. It's amazing. I just got 60 points. Hey.
The current standings, I'm at 180.2. Anthony's at 170.2. Lauren's at 166.8. And Jeff's at 143.8. And with that, we'll go over to the what to watch for.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
So we have over 30 games taking place at this weekend showcase, which is in between what we had in Worcester, which was just a gauntlet first showcase, and what we had in Walpole, which had a couple half days, right? I think we called a couple of them like half school days. We're kind of in between
early
that,
recess.
In between that, this is actually a home showcase for me. It's 20 minutes away. This is great. The Seahawks actually reached out to me and said, we can't find a hotel. I said, just bring the team here. Vicky's gone this weekend. Probably wouldn't have gone over well if I had 50 guys in my house. So
you stacking them in the basement. You have many guest bedrooms. I've been lucky enough to stay at the Raven establishment, but you just get stack the team in the basement with Peloton and Emma Lovewell, and
they could get one ride in. Anyways,
and I'll just break your bike. There you go.
I'm gonna be selfish. And I'm going to take the very easy game to watch for, which is actually the second to last game of the showcase at 3:00 on Monday. It's Rangers versus Railers, 1 versus 2 EHL. So a little extra 5-hour energy, I guess you could say, at the very end of that showcase. And that, if it's like the last game that went to a shootout, that would be an awesome way to end the showcase.
I'm going to take the first game then. Railers Lumberjacks. Is that, I don't know if that's allowed since we just picked the Railers this one of them, but another big litmus test for both teams, right? We said Vermont's on quite the scoring bender. Well, welcome to Stefan Kalanick or Cam Beluski, guys that don't let in a whole lot of goals. How's that going to shake out? We'll have to see for that. So make sure you tune into that. That's the first game of the showcase weekend. So that is 1:00 on Saturday. Railers Lumberjacks.
First and last. Lauren and Anthony?
Jeff a little bit, because I think the Lumberjacks are definitely ones to watch, and I think their game on Sunday versus Team Maryland should be a little interesting. I think that'll be a fun one to watch. But then I also have a bit of a team to watch, and I think I'm going to hear a whole lot about it, but I think the Chiefs are one to watch this weekend. I think they're starting to finally make a name for themselves. They struggled to find the win column a little bit in the beginning, but they're currently, I think, on like a 3 or 4 game win streak right now. So I think heading into the showcase, that should be some good fire for them. And I had been like hearing from some of their players here and there recently, and I was hearing from their captain, and one thing he said, absolutely loved it. I think it perfectly describes that team right now, is embrace the chase. I think they're absolutely buying into that, and it shows so far with that win streak they're currently on, and I'm excited to see how that plays out this weekend.
If they win, I will scream, embrace the chase and embrace the Chiefs, okay?
I am holding you to that. We have that on audio recording. We are holding you to that.
If I scream it into a pillow, it's the same thing. Anthony.
Okay, I'm going to go with 2 games. First one for the EHLP. 87s and Railers. That is Sunday, 10 a.m. You got a rematch of the EHLP Frozen Finals, and I do think that should be a really good matchup. For the next one, I think I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten trail. I'm going to go with the East Coast Wizards and the Philadelphia Little Flyers. That's at 4:15 on Sunday. I think that these 2 teams usually play pretty well in the showcases, and for some reason, I just think that's going to be a surprisingly great matchup. I won't be surprised if that's one of the games that goes into overtime. I'm looking forward to watching that one and see how that one shakes out.
And between now and the first puck drop of the showcase, we're going to have another edition of Around the E Show coming from Lauren, a written preview of the showcase coming from Anthony. So keep your eyes peeled on our website and social media platforms. It's the 3rd showcase of the season. The next showcase is until December, so there's a kind of a breather after this. But if you can't make it,
State
and Nutmeg State, Anthony, when we get down to that one, I want you to have a whole poster of all these facts ready to go. We'll hang them up right in the lobby.
Get the trifold ready.
Yes, the trifold. Like we're oh my God, we're throwing it back right now. I forgot about all those projects you had when you were a kid.
Oh.
Those trifolds. I used to tear them up afterwards. I was like, thank God this is over. Anyways, but if you can't make it to Haverhill or Lawrence, you can obviously watch every one of the games on Hockey TV. And we'll see you guys at the showcase.
Sounds good. See you guys there.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.